The neon signs of New Jakarta flickered through the perpetual smog as Daniel wiped his grease-stained hands on his coveralls. His small repair shop, barely more than a corrugated metal shack wedged between two towering arcologies, had seen better days. The holographic open sign buzzed intermittently, its projector failing like everything else in the lower districts. Daniel had inherited the shop from his father, along with the debts and the dreams. At 26, he'd become an expert at fixing the unfixable: ancient combustion bikes, defunct hover scooters, even the occasional military-grade transport that someone had borrowed from the peacekeepers. His reputation was solid among the desperate and the poor, but reputation didn't pay the bills. The rain began acidic and warm, hissing against the metal roof. Daniel was about to close up when he heard it, a sound that didn't belong. Not the usual whine of electric motors or the rumble of fusion engines, but something else entirely. A crystalline hum that seemed to resonate in his bones. She appeared through the rain like a mirage. JASSIE pushed what could only loosely be called a bike into his shop. The vehicle was unlike anything Daniel had ever seen. Its frame seemed to shift between solid and translucent, its wheels suspended on fields of shimmering energy. But what truly stopped his breath was the girl herself. Her skin held an iridescent quality, shifting between pale blue and silver depending on the angle of light. Her eyes were too large, two bright amber pools with vertical pupils that contracted as they adjusted to the dim interior of his shop. Delicate biomechanical implants traced patterns along her temples and down her neck, pulsing with soft light. "I need help," she said, her voice carrying harmonics that no human throat could produce. Her standard English was perfect, but layered with something musical. "My jump bike has failed. I have no currency compatible with your economic system." Daniel's mind raced through a dozen possibilities. Alien refugees had been trickling into Earth's megacities for the past decade, ever since the Confederation had opened limited immigration. But he'd never seen one up close. The government kept them segregated in special zones. Their technology strictly regulated. This girl, Jessie, according to the biotag hologram flickering weakly above her wrist, was clearly illegal. "I can't pay," she continued, her large eyes meeting his with surprising vulnerability. "But please, if I don't reach the northern spaceport by dawn, I'll miss my departure window. I'll be trapped here." Daniel should have said no. Should have called the peacekeepers. Should have done anything except what he did next. "Let me take a look." He approached the jump bike cautiously. Up close, it was even more extraordinary. The frame wasn't metal, but something organic synthetic, warm to the touch and humming with residual energy. The propulsion system was based on principles that made his engineering degree feel like kindergarten finger painting. "The quantum manifold is collapsed," Jassy explained, pointing to a component that seemed to exist in multiple places simultaneously. "It needs realignment, but the tools required are not available on Earth," Daniel finished. "Yeah, I figured." He circled the bike, his mechanics instincts taking over. Human technology was crude compared to this, but principles were principles. Energy needed pathways. Systems needed balance. He'd built his entire career on improvisation. "I might have an idea," he said slowly. "It'll be ugly, and it definitely won't be up to your specifications, but it might get you to the spaceport." For the next 4 hours, Daniel worked with an intensity he hadn't felt in years. He cannibalized parts from 6 different machines, including his own personal hover bike. Jassy assisted, her 3-fingered hands surprisingly deft, her knowledge filling in the gaps his human education had left. They barely spoke, but something passed between them in the shared language of repair and creation. She told him in fragments about her world, a moon orbiting a gas giant in the Kepler system, where cities grew like coral and knowledge was shared through bio-neural networks. She'd come to Earth as a student, drawn by humanity's reputation for stubborn survival against impossible odds. "Your species is considered strange," she said, holding a component steady while Daniel welded. "You have no natural advantages. No enhanced cognition, no environmental adaptations, no innate connection to quantum fields. Yet you persist. You thrive. The Confederation doesn't understand it. Daniel laughed bitterly. Tell that to the million people starving in the lower districts. That's exactly what I mean, Jassy replied, her eyes intense. Humans endure conditions that would break most species. Your capacity for hope in hopeless situations is remarkable. Terrifying, even. At 3 a.m., Daniel made the final connection. The jump bike shuddered, then stabilized, its energy fields flickering back to life. It wasn't beautiful. His repairs were crude patches, obvious scars on the elegant alien technology, but it would work. It'll get you there, Daniel said, exhaustion making his voice rough. But don't push it too hard. The quantum manifold is still fragile. Jassy stared at him, her alien features unreadable. Then she reached into a compartment on the bike and withdrew a small crystalline device, no larger than a coin. I told you I had no currency, she said quietly. That was true. But I have this. She pressed the crystal into his palm. It's a knowledge core from my world. Inside are technical specifications, manufacturing processes, energy theories your planet won't discover for another century. I was supposed to return it to my university. Daniel tried to hand it back. I can't. You can? You will? Her hand closed over his, warm despite the cool iridescence of her skin. Daniel of Earth, you helped me expecting nothing. That is rare in the galaxy. You deserve this, and your world needs people like you. She mounted the jump bike, and it lifted smoothly off the ground, Daniel's crude repairs somehow integrating with the alien technology. They'll come looking for you, she said. When this crystal is activated, the Confederation will know. Your life will change. Are you ready for that? Daniel looked at his shabby shop, his failed dreams, his small existence in the shadow of the arcologies. He thought about his father, who'd always said that the measure of a person wasn't in what they took, but in what they gave when they had nothing left to give. Yeah, he said. I think I am. Jassy smiled, a gesture that translated across species, and then she was gone. The jump bike disappearing into the rain-soaked sky in a flash of prismatic light. Daniel stood in the doorway of his shop, the knowledge core warm in his hand, and watched the dawn break over New Jakarta. Somewhere in the distance, sirens were already beginning to wail. His life was about to transform forever, but for the first time in years, Daniel wasn't afraid. He was ready.